Hello everybody and welcome back to the Fortress of Solitude. Today we're going to be talking about Ultimate Endgame Issue 1 by Dennis Camp, Terry Dodson, Rachel Dodson, Jonas Scharf, Federico Blee and Edgar Delgado. The end is here for the Ultimate Universe. The Maker has awoken and in seconds he'll be set free from his dome. Before all that though, 3 months after the Maker arrived in this universe to be exact, the villain has killed every Eternal in Olympia except for King Zurus, whom he slowly infects with his poison he found in the Unbeyond. The poison warps Zurus's vision, making the Eternal think that the Maker is alien and monstrous. Maker says that he is doing this all because the Eternals are antithetical to change, and he is going to change much with his grand experiment. Zurus manages to ask what happens if his experiment fails, but the Maker rips him in half, telling the now dead Eternal that he will burn everything down and just start again. What a way to open the final chapter of this event, the death of the Eternals, while also bringing back the Maker into the story and giving us a glimpse at what he did during his takeover of Earth 6160. This is the type of stuff that I kind of wanted to see a bit more of, and I'm glad that Dennis Camp is giving us just a little bit of a glimpse of his takeover. Kudos as well to artist Jonas Scharf for doing this just fantastic, grainy, old school look for the Eternals and this first part of the book, perfectly capturing the 1960s era, because this part of the book is actually set in the 1960s. Very Jack Kirby-esque sort of art, all these great colors, especially in the backgrounds and in the designs of the Eternals, which feel very 1960s era and kind of set apart from what we've seen of Earth 6160 so far. In the present, in December 2025, the Parkers listen to Ben and Jonah reporting on even more uprisings happening across the country thanks to the Ultimates. Jonah wants these all verified though, but the arriving Iron Lad says that they are all true. Tony isn't there for the newspaper though, he's there for Peter, telling him that it's time. Peter understands, but Richard wants to come with him, revealing to Tony that he's now wearing the Pictotech suit. Tony isn't too pleased, as the suit was meant for Peter, who takes it back into his own suit, telling his son that to stay behind. The Pictotech suit actually tries to protest, but Tony doesn't care, knowing that the suit will do what he tells it to do, otherwise he'll roll it back to factory settings and find a personality worth keeping. I'm really liking how stern Tony is being here. Shit's about to get real, he knows it, and he needs the heroes to take this seriously. Peter also being here made me realize that really he's the only hero who actually has a family unit who he needs to worry about besides the people of Earth. All the other heroes are either family to one another who are already there fighting, or are loners, so placing Peter and MJ in the book injects the familial drama and shows us what some of the heroes are really fighting for. Peter says his goodbyes to his son, but again, I don't know why they do this, but Mayday just seems to be left out from all these big family moments. She's a part of the family, but we don't actually get to see a moment where Peter actually has to say goodbye to her. Like, we see her earlier on in the book just for a panel, but she's been all but forgotten in the Ultimate Spider-Man book, and it seems in this as well. And it's just strange, like, why have her be part of the family if you aren't going to use her in any sort of way? Like, why? Is it just there just because people know who Mayday is and just maybe, hinting that she's in the family will get people interested? It's very strange, the deployment of Mayday Parker in this universe. Pete tries to say goodbye to MJ, but she isn't happy, just wanting a few weeks of peace, feeling like they have earned it. She understands his responsibility, but really hopes that Peter understands his responsibility to his family as well. Tony knows that time is almost up and they need to go, so Peter dons his costume and teleports away to Latveria, with only 10 minutes left until the Maker returns. Spider-Man thanks Tony and the suit for not letting Richard come with them, and the suit reminds Peter that it is literally him, so he would never let their son go on a suicide mission. However, the arriving America Chavez believes that this is more of a rescue mission. The heroes meet with America and Doom, and Tony explains that they have a plan to control Maker City once the dome opens, planning on turning the entire structure against the Maker's children of tomorrow. Spider-Man is worried about the Maker's cabal, but America tells him that they are all hiding away in their bunkers, since they are worried about being killed once the dome opens. The cabal hiding out is something I wish we got a little bit more of, since while they appeared in other Ultimate books like the Wolverine one, it really only felt like we focused on Banner and the Heaven side of the cabal instead of the other ones. They got little bits here and there, but Banner was the one who was kind of like the standout. We never really got, to dive deep into Roberto da Costa and what he was up to with the Blood Boys and everything. Captain Britain only got very little movement on what he was up to, so it felt like they were kind of picking and choosing which ones to really focus on, where I think you could have done like so much more with these characters, especially with all of the initial premises that Jonathan Hickman had set up in his original Ultimates books. Spider-Man is concerned Maker's own men are hiding away, wondering where the other Ultimates are, but Tony merely says that they are everywhere. Tony's dabbling in time travel with the Immortus engine in his suit comes back, as well as we find out that the uprisings across the world are being led by Tony, who is currently in 23 different places, like up at the Triskelion with She-Hulk, where he coordinates movement of 3 million active Ultimates members. As the Triskelion work to add extra help for their struggling teleportation systems and track a massive storm forming above Kansas, Tony reveals that he's also overseeing Captain America and Hawkeye's mission against Captain Britain and his otherworldly reinforcements. See, this is all the stuff I want to see. I want to see a Captain America Hawkeye team up against Captain Britain. That would be really interesting, and if this was a larger event, I am sure that would be a tie-in. I'm sure the Ultimates book, the actual Ultimates ongoing, will actually cover some of this, but stuff like this should have been like a one-shot or a special, like a Captain America special or something. Wasp and Ant-Man battle frost giants and techno merlins whose rituals allow them to see the team and what they'll do before they do it. Tony is also with Luke Cage and his Ultimate Avengers team as they sweep through the southern hemisphere, recruiting more people as they go. Luke is another character I really wanted more of in this book. His deployment in this book by Dennis Camp, and how he's this champion of the oppressed, helping the downtrodden through the prison system and combating the prison system, was just so goddamn interesting. It's just unlike anything we've seen with Luke Cage before, but it also adheres to his core concepts. Luke Cage is a hero of the common man, a hero of the downtrodden, and I loved getting to experience that in the Ultimates issue that focused on him. Luke's Avengers team was also really cool as well, and we get a brief look at it here as one of the members seems to be like a Ghost Rider member, making the Cabal soldiers feel the pain that they have caused through his own version of the penance stare. Tony lists various other places he is, and their uprising is bigger than Peter could ever dream of, and there is no one that they can spare to help them at the dome. 5 seconds remain on the timer, and the various teams continue their missions as Tony tells them that he doesn't know what comes next, but he wants the teams to know that whatever happens, they are all heroes to him. The Maker's Dome opens and the world doesn't immediately end. In fact, Tony can't actually see what's happening as the dome begins to expand and actually engulfs his small team. At the Triskelion, Tony is alerted to a massive storm above Kansas now breaking through the atmosphere, and as Tony's team moves further through the void in the dome, it suddenly seals back up, cutting the prime Tony off from the other 22 Tonys around the world. Oh man, I love how Camp did the build up to this dome opening and then just kind of flip the switch. Like nothing cataclysmic happened, there wasn't just an all-out fight as soon as it opened. In fact, there was kind of like an eerie quietness. There was a stillness, which is honestly more terrifying because it's like, okay, what does the Maker have planned now? The 22 other Tonys around the world begin to snap out of existence as he manages to tell the heroes that he has been cut off from the Immortus engine and the rest of the teams. The teams continue to fight as the Triskelion finds that the storm they've been tracking isn't a storm at all. It's a huge fleet of hand helicarriers. Aboard the Beast, the lead helicarrier, Nick Fury orders all of his ships to blow the Triskelion to hell. The helicarriers fire and the Triskelion explodes in a blinding light, bringing the Ultimates network offline. Like we saw in the 2 Years In special, the other shoe always drops, and just when it looks like the heroes have a chance at winning or a chance at like getting a one up on the Maker, everything just goes to shit, and we are getting that right now, and I really like whenever it happens happens in the Ultimate Universe, because it's always just complete chaos and just a big utter catastrophe. As the heroes try and work around the entire system being brought to its knees, Iron Lad and his team find themselves in the inner part of the dome. Peter's spider sense is triggering non-stop, making him think he's having a heart attack as he believes that they are in serious trouble. Doom thinks that the Darwin bubble that was surrounding the dome must have reactivated, but as Tony notes, its math has now completely changed, adding a fourth dimension which allowed it to grow around them and kind of encapsulate them in its wake. Okay, I'm liking its mystery here, you know, with the dome, and it just didn't open and the Maker didn't just stroll out and start a war like he said he would, but instead, like I said before, it was kind of quiet when it opened, and it makes it more terrifying since obviously Maker plans to trap Tony, Doom, America, and Spider-Man in the dome. For what reason, we don't know yet, and the team even wonder this, knowing that the Maker wouldn't do this on purpose, and this doesn't fit his MO, and because of that, Tony jumps to the conclusion that this is actually his father's doing, and he's still alive, and he brought them in there to help him fight, and to give the outside world more time. Doom, however, doesn't think that's likely, since even Howard Stark couldn't survive thousands of years. We get our first look at the Maker's city, and it's a very cyberpunk industrial hellscape nightmare. Doom notes how the air feels soiled and has a film of greasy particulates in it, leading to Tony to warn everyone not to remove their masks, although they don't have to worry about America, who doesn't have a mask, seeing as that she cannot breathe. Sticking to their original plan, the team plan on uploading a payload virus to the city's main computers and taking control of it before Maker's people find them. However, it's plainly obvious that Doom has ulterior motives, distracted when he briefly catches a sight of someone or something watching them. Now obviously in this moment Doom is just spotting the oncoming Tomorrow people, but I do wonder if when it comes down to it, Doom is going to betray the team to get his own way, since he 100% wants revenge on the Maker for what he did to the team. And while we did have that issue where he kind of let go of some of the hate and realized what he needed to do to kind of free himself from the burden of, letting his family die and, realize that wasn't ever his fault or anything, I do feel like there is going to be that moment where if he has a chance, he's going to try and directly kill the Maker, or at least, betray the team in a way where he has to go against them to get what he wants. It feels just like a classic Doom thing. As the team get ready to head towards the giant dead tree at the center of the city, America saves Tony from certain death as they are attacked by the Maker's Tomorrow people, who chatter in an alien-like language the heroes cannot understand. We've gotten hints at the Tomorrow people, especially in the last 2 years in special, and I really liked their design here by Shaft. A nice mix of human and robot all tied together. They got these giant exosuits that make them sort of crawl around the city like spiders. Tony unleashes weapons he designed to combat specifically these beings, an antimatter machine gun, but the Tomorrow people shrug it off like it is nothing, which actually shocks Tony, since nothing that exists should be able to do that. The team begin to lose the fight as one of the Tomorrow people grabs Spider-Man, beginning to erase the Pictotech suit of its AI, as Tony is overcome by the fact that his Immortus engine no longer works, so he locks up, saying he's sorry over and over again, but suddenly the team are saved by the timely arrival of Death's Head and the Deathlocks. The Death Head and the Deathlocks was not something I had on my bingo card for this book at all, and it got some genuine shock and, surprise out of me. This is really damn cool. I didn't expect these characters to appear at all in this book. The backup makes short work of the Tomorrow people as one of the final ones stabs Doom in the arm, injuring the man, as it manages to actually say his name as it lets out a warped combination of a scream and laughter. This head kills the being, his translator finally working as he calls the heroes tourists in a place that tourists should not be, warning them that more children are on the way and they must follow him. He picks up the injured Doom and leaves with the heroes as he tells his Deathlocks that they have been activated. The zombie cyborgs grab the remaining Tomorrow people and activate the bombs in their bodies, blowing themselves and the Tomorrow people up. Okay, so what is going on with this city? We got a Death's Head running around with deathlocks, running a type of resistance against the Maker. It's great stuff, and I love that we're just kind of thrust into it along with the Ultimates. They don't know what's going on, we don't know what's going on. We're just kind of really along for the ride at this point, like anything could happen in the Maker's world here. The heroes follow Death's Head through a tear in reality to a desert fortress. The team want to know what's going on, learning they are being rescued by Death's Head 22, a freedom fighter for hire, and the heroes are his prisoners and or bounty. He knows that the commander will answer all of their questions, heading into the fortress, which Tony recognizes is filled with technology that very clearly is derived from Stark Stain and Iron Man technology. Death's Head 22 knows nothing of Stark Stain or the Iron Man as he serves Immortus, the Lord of Time. So we finally get to meet the legendary Immortus in this universe, and he's like some old guy tinkering in a workshop. He seems to be the one who creates the Deathlocks, which if his dialogue is to be believed, he makes out of the corpses of people that Death's Head brings him, which is really fucking gnarly. That's really cool. Tony immediately believes that this old man is his father, but Immortus doesn't recognize Tony at all, knowing that he bears the mark of that of the Immortus engine, but he doesn't remember marking Tony or any of the heroes for that matter. So there's so many different ways that this could go. This could be a very, very old future version of Howard Stark. This could actually be a version of Tony Stark who made it into the dome at some point. You know, it could be one of Tony's various copies from the Immortus engine, being that this is the guy who creates the Immortus engine, much like how Howard and Doom created the Immortus engine. There's just so many new questions about who this guy is. I'm sure we're going to get answered throughout this book. I absolutely am sure. But the mystery behind it is so interesting. Just this guy who we didn't know existed until right now is just here now. Immortus is right here, and like, who is he? What is he? How does he relate to the story? Is he going against the Maker? Is he part of the Maker's inner circle in this universe? What is he? I'm so excited to find out. Doom tells Immortus that they have come to end the Maker, wanting the old man's help in finding the villain. Hearing this, however, makes Immortus burst into laughter, since it's not finding the Maker that's the problem, it's escaping him, as it's revealed that in the thousands of years since being sealed in the dome, the Maker himself has become the city. We get a cool reveal here of the final page of the Maker, and he has been turned into the giant tree in the middle of the city. His giant warped face is on the tree. He has become the world tree for this world. This is such a fucking cool idea, and one that I never would have considered, but it makes so much sense. The Maker wants everything to be him. What he creates. He wants to be the sole arbiter of everything on this world. So it makes sense that, you know, sealed in this bottle, he would make everything him. Quite literally, in fact, everything is now an extension of him in this universe. And I'm sure that's what he's going to try and do to Earth 6160 as well once he gets out of the dome. I also wonder if there's some sort of parallel there with him becoming kind of a very, very evil version of like Krakoa. You know, he's this living piece of land, a living city that's been sealed off from the rest of the world and will defend itself when it's attacked. Sounds very much like Krakoa, doesn't it? Hell, even his monstrous visage there on the tree kinda looks like the face of Krakoa that we'd see countless times through Cypher and like what he was interacting with. Very cool reveal, and I can't wait to see what Dennis Camp does with it. Ultimate Endgame issue 1 was a fantastic action-packed and tension-filled issue that opened up, literally and figuratively, the Maker's story and what his plans for the universe are now that the dome is open. There are bits which I feel should have been fleshed out a little bit more, especially the heroes fighting off the Maker's cabal and the stuff we only got very small glimpses of in this issue, but with a great big bit of plot progression and some genuinely shocking reveals, especially on the end page. I can't wait to see what Dennis Camp and his team does with this book and his Ultimates book as we draw closer to the end of this universe. I'm going to give this issue an 8.5 out of 10.